Tonight, I would like to discuss 5 musical terms that I think are absolutely insanely confusing. Let's start off with augmented and diminished chords. The first thing you want to know is that they don't augment or diminish anything. The labels are insanely misleading. For instance, we can play a major chord in first inversion and then raise the middle note to get to an augmented chord. But as you can see, in this instant we did not enlarge anything. Nothing got augmented. Or we can start with the dominant 7th chord in second inversion and raise one of the notes in the middle to a diminished chord. But we didn't shrink anything, so nothing got diminished. So the way we do music today, that makes no sense. There are no rules about how to get to augmented and diminished chords, especially because we can use them as independent, standalone chords. How about the diminished triad? What in heaven's name is that about? A diminished triad is like G, B flat, and D flat. It is defined as a triad because it looks like a snowman, but clearly it is not a chord because when we hear it, we don't know what it is. We also don't know how it's going to be spelled because there are a number of ways to write it. Defining an incomplete chord by how it looks on the page is very risky business. Here's another confusing thing. Major and minor intervals are a huge problem for beginning students because they logically link them to major and minor chords, but nothing could be farther from the truth. For instance, a major third can instantly turn into a minor chord in 2 ways. And a minor third can easily turn into a major chord in 2 ways. So this means that major and minor intervals are simply bigger and smaller, which is why in German they are simply called big and small intervals, and at least that makes sense. Now, one of the stupidest terms in music, the melodic minor scale. Such a scale absolutely does not exist. A minor scale is normally a set of 7 notes, and a scale is always the same set of notes going in both directions. But some clown decided that if we go up jazz minor and come back down natural minor, we're going to call it melodic minor. That never described anything real in music and therefore is one of the stupidest ideas ever. Now it's time for the rabbit hole. When we are thinking about musical terms that make no sense, number 1 is the term classical music. For instance, here is one definition I found. Classical music refers to the art music of the Western world considered to be distinct from Western folk music or popular music traditions. First of all, what in heaven's name is art music? So I looked up that definition. Art music, also called cultivated music or serious music, is music to be considered of a high value. That definition is absolutely ludicrous. In fact, if we pick 10 examples of so-called classical music, the only thing they will have in common is that they are extremely popular and have been around for a long time. This is why I say we are simply talking about timeless popular music. No one agrees upon when such music has to have been written. We can't even agree upon where such music has to have been written, although people generally seem to link classical music with Europe, but even that is not always true. The most important thing is that classical music is not serious, lofty music. Let's take a look at just 3 pieces of music that are typically called classical music. Let's start with the opening theme of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It may be of high value, and it certainly may be serious, but during World War II, the first 4 notes became associated with victory because it corresponded to the letter V in Morse code, which is ... dash. In other words, da 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 da. Now let's talk about Felix Mendelssohn's Wedding March from A Midsummer Night's Dream. We associate this march with wedding ceremonies. Maybe getting married is serious business, but a wedding ceremony is a lot of other things, and there's nothing classical about it. Chopin's Funeral Sonata got linked to a verse that was incredibly popular long ago and is still around today. It goes something like this. Where will we be 100 years from now? Pushing up the daisies 100 years from now. That's pretty gruesome, but it's also funny, and it's not meant seriously. A lot of reason this or that piece of music is considered classical is really about cultural osmosis. A few decades ago, advertisers invented Charlie the Tuna. Charlie was always trying to prove that he had good taste, so he always heard these following words. But Charlie, StarKist doesn't want tuna with good taste, they want tuna that tastes good. By the way, StarKist continued to use Charlie in their advertisements until the 1980s, when the campaign was retired. However, starting in 1999, Charlie came back. In the same way, we don't care if music represents good taste, we just want music that sounds good. And such music simply becomes timeless because generation after generation thinks that it sounds very good. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave me comments about anything you like, comments about anything you'd like to see in the future, and remember that I consider all suggestions.